96. Order online or through the app by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling prevention and treatment resources, visit opgr.org. By Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration, in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, within winning distance. Audi Wilsonville, offering unmatched service to help you find the perfect car. Online at AudiWilsonville.com. Laurelhurst Market, more than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com. By Unitas Community Credit Union. Join the team at Unitas Community Credit Union to help you reach your financial goals. And by Langdon Farms Golf Club. There's no better course in the Northwest for year-round golf. Book your tee time at LangdonFarms.com. Now, here are your hosts, Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara, and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman, with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome in. Happy Oregon Ducks Game Day to you. One final time, potentially, at Autzen Stadium. Andy Johnson, Anthony Newman, Dusty Hara hanging out with you. Game number 12 of the 2024 season, boys. We got a lot to get to over the next 2.5 hours. But before we get to anything else, including how cold it is down here, let's start with a little round of congratulations. First off, I know Dusty Hara was hoping to be coaching today, but another great season for the Banks Braves, coming up just short to a semifinal loss this season for Banks?
Yeah, we lost to the Burns Highlanders fighting Kellen Clemenses.
The darn Kellen Clemenson's got you.
Yep, but a great run. 11-1 is always a good run, but it's the one that hurts.
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't here today.
we were hoping you wouldn't be here. We were hoping you'd be coaching in a state title game.
So was I. I was hoping not to be here, too.
I don't want to be here either. And the guy to my left just added like his 74th ring on it. He's big title, buddy.
Hey. The Westland Lions.
Westland Lion, man. I'm so happy. I'm so blessed to be a part of that program. Yeah. I mean, we got a great head coach, John Eagle, and our staff is unbelievable. But the kids, they bought in.
Yeah.
They bought in this year, and these kids, I get a little emotional when I start talking about my kids. These kids are unreal. They really are. We want them to have success on and off the field. Be good citizens in the community, but when you're playing football and you're trying to do your best and win football games, they understood how to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And that as a coach makes you feel good, and that's what gets you a little emotional because you see their little faces. They're still kids, so when I'm looking at them, they still look like babies. I see their little eyes when I'm talking to them, and But yeah, it was a long journey, but we made it.
Well,
so
talk
it was
about
good.
The bad taste of losing in the semis that the Banks Braves can take into next year. The way you guys lost last year.
Yes,
we don't need to get into the call
That's
again.
right.
But using it as motivation throughout the course of the offseason and finding a way to redeem it the very next year.
You know, to that point though, is that you see it in different levels, but when high school you see these middle schoolers come in.
Yes,
and they are going through puberty, haven't figured out how to use their legs or their arms yet, and then when you get them through and by the time they're seniors, it is such a rewarding feeling to see it pay off in the way that you had it yesterday. So,
and to see
congratulations.
To see him crying after the game and just ecstatic with just joy and then the other coaches. It's just crazy. Then my family was able. My kids are all in town. They came and watched it. So it was really neat.
And I just hope you're not to the point like Nick Saban where the game is over and you're thinking of how you're going to win it again next year.
He's already game planning linebacker depth for next season.
We talked about that earlier. I said we got another running back that's the real deal, and no one knows about him.
He's already there.
He's already there. He's going to go along with Vigo Anderson, who was the stud there. So we got a couple of we got some dudes coming back. We got some dudes coming back.
Wesley's not going anywhere.
No,
that we know, man. So congratulations on both you guys on a great year. I normally don't start this way, but I do feel like the listeners should know. We are keeping an eye on. There's obviously games going on throughout the world in college football. No matter how this one plays out today at Autzen Stadium, Oregon is going to Indianapolis next week and playing in the Big Ten championship game. What we don't know is who their opponent is going to be. We all assumed it would be Ohio State. Just want to give you a score update on that game. They just hit the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter, and Michigan has the ball inside the 15-yard line. Now Ohio State has all 3 timeouts left, and so it's 2 minutes left. It's 2nd and 7 at the Ohio State 14. So Ohio State could potentially get a stop, hold them to a field goal, and get the ball back. But just wanted to point that out. And it's a good way to start the show after what happened last night with Georgia as a 18-point favorite needing 8 overtimes to beat Georgia Tech at home. And Ohio State, who everybody just said, oh, they're going to blow them out. Michigan doesn't have an offense. Ohio State's rolling. This game's going to be a bloodbath. Not the case. I wonder if there's any of Lanning like, hey, let's flip to Fox today, guys, to show you. Let's not take anybody lightly because very similar to Ohio State, Michigan, there's the theme out there today. Oregon owes Washington 1, and the last couple of games have been painful. Now you got to try and keep the emotions in check and go out and execute tonight.
Well, it's funny, the rival games, you don't know what's going to happen. And the team, if you go back to Oregon State, when Oregon State was struggling, somehow they would give a lot of problems for Oregon in that Civil War back in the day, and vice versa. When Oregon State was good and Oregon was struggling, you don't know. That's why you play the games. You look on paper, oh yeah, this team's going to win. They got more dudes, but no, this type of game, and it's for Michigan just to be in the ball game with Ohio State. Come on, Michigan is not a very good football team.
No, and without Will Johnson, without Loveland, Colson Loveland, the only offense to speak of when Oregon went to Ann Arbor was Colson Loveland.
Correct.
Donovan Edwards looked like he got dinged up early in this game. It's a rivalry game. You kind of pull from something within that isn't there, and you give your best shot and you give your best effort. But with 2 minutes to go, I don't know if you guys saw at the end of the first half, Chip dialed up the no huddle, looking like the blur. They marched right down the field. They fed Jeremiah Smith. They punched it in, and they did it effortlessly.
Yes.
In a 2-minute offense at the end of the first half. Hopefully they have to match one with Michigan in the second half as well, because that would be a great finish. It's fun to see these Herculean efforts by the little guy. Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt tried their hardest at the beginning of their game with Tennessee. But it's great to see when you have a team that is counted out and they're punching up, and that's what we're going to have here tonight too.
Yeah, you never know, and that's the beautiful thing, as Anthony, you were saying about rivalry games. I think the other aspect that these two games have in common as well is that there is the perception on the other side of it that they have nothing to lose. Michigan won a national championship last year. We all know it's a down year for them. Nobody gave them a chance. Just going, what the hell? If we lose, we're supposed to lose.
Right.
If we win, then it's even better. And so I think Washington is approaching the game. I know their fan base is. They're trying to say this game doesn't matter, which is funny in a rivalry game. And if they win, I'm sure they'll be singing a different tune later on tonight. That's usually the way that it works. But before we get to anything else on the game, and we'll talk about the weather today, which is just a beautiful November afternoon for football here, the emotions of senior day. You were just talking about it, Anthony, where the high school kids who are playing their last game ever, a little bit of a different feeling, but now you get to college where some of these guys are playing their last game ever, and their careers are going to come to an end. And I love doing this every year on senior day. Traditionally been against Oregon State. Now, with the new realignment and the new conference, it's against Washington going forward, at least every other year. But just what that's like, taking the field for the last time for these guys, because a lot of guys are going to be putting on the helmet for the last time at Autzen Stadium, potentially here today.
Yes, well, senior day is a special day for the seniors. I mean, and again, if you played here 4 years, which now a lot of kids don't play here 4 years.
True.
If you play here 4 years, it's a special day because it's your last time on this football field. It may be your last time ever playing football again. And that right there, that takes a toll on a lot of guys. It's because, wait, I'm used to doing this my whole life, and now it changes. It stops. And so we always tell the underclassmen, you owe it to these seniors to help them go out on top. You help them win this football game. So that's so important that the family's there to support you. Your underclassmen are there to support you. And it just means a lot because
the home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt. Josh Pate is our guest, the commissioner of college football. When you use a crock pot, do you put the meat in raw and let it cook, or do you cook the meat before it goes in a crock pot?
Oh, I have no idea. I just get enough friends who know how to cook, and I outsource that part of my life.
Really?
Although I will say, your meat has found out exactly what it feels like to be Florida State football this year, it sounds like.
Dirt and Spray. Dirt and Spray. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on 1080 The Fan. Prime time with Isaac and Sue.
A prime asset at any party.
You need to demand more, and I hope that they do, because I don't know why anyone would pay good money to go see this franchise. It's a bad owner, it's a bad GM, it's a neutered coach, they have no stars, and this is what bad franchises look like and feel like, and you are one. And that's bad because you haven't always been that way. Under Paul Allen, you were always going to the playoffs, you were always trying to win. That doesn't mean all the years were great. Certainly the Jailblazers, that was a whole moment in time that was awful. There have been certainly highs and lows here.
But it's been excellent.
But it's been a really good franchise, and one that the NBA can be proud of. It is not that anymore. It has turned into a joke, and Jody is a joke, and it doesn't stop until you call them out on it.
The home of Prime Time with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7, 1080 The Fan.
Auto accident? Worried about your deductible? Don't. Before you file a claim, call Leif's Auto Collision Centers. Leif's unique program can help. Unlike the other body shops, we don't work for insurance companies. We work for you. Remember, you have the right to choose who repairs your vehicle. That's the law. Call me at Leif's before you file a claim. And of course, pickup and delivery throughout the Northwest, factory parts, pre-loss repairs. Leif's Auto Collision Centers, family owned for 34 years. The finest in collision repair.
Are you looking for Christmas music?
Like fun Christmas music.
Tune in to 97.1 Charlie FM.
It's a Charlie Christmas.
97.1 Charlie FM is Portland's fun Christmas music station.
Drive time approaching 2 hours and 20 minutes from here in Slabtown down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from Twalt and Sherwood Road, through Wilsonville and over the river. A lot of slowing after passing through Salem, down past exit 244, a bit more near exit 238. The rest of the way looking pretty clear, but there do not appear to be any smokies at this moment. 43, partly cloudy in Portland, 39 and cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44 for the 4:30 kick in Eugene. 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind, could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Hey, folks, this is it. The best weekend of the year for buying a TV. Forget inflation, because now you've got deflation with Black Friday pricing on top-rated brands like Samsung, LG, and Sony. Where's the best place to shop? It's not the clubs or online. Join the smart shoppers heading for video only, because they've got better than Black Friday deals. That's right, better. Don't believe it? Then bring your prices to video only and compare before you buy. Or you'll be sorry. At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In Jansen Beach, Clackamas, Beaverton, Salem, and Eugene. Video Only.
Hey, it's Dusty. Victor Rico's just dropped new menu items. Restaurant quality, made fresh, and served fast. Plus, they're open late. So whenever hunger hits, Victor Rico's is ready. Trust me, it's delicious. Visit them in store or order online at victorricos.com for takeout or delivery.
Your business needs a network it can count on.
Power's out.
Comcast Business has you covered with Wi-Fi backup to help keep your business up and running, even when your power goes out.
Everybody in the warehouse good? Lights are out, but the Wi-Fi's up. Let's power on.
It's from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
Presented by Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Hey, we're hot, we're on. Welcome back. Live at Autzen Stadium. I think we got all our technical difficulties figured out. Bummer for you guys. That was an award-winning segment you missed.
You missed Anthony and I's best shots on senior day.
We just kept going. I didn't see the text right away. We didn't even know we were off the air. We were just talking. We were having a grand old time down here, man.
That's
Sun's
how you
out.
do it,
That's
right?
You
That's
gotta
how you just talk football.
You just keep rolling, baby.
Hey, we're talking football, man.
Sun is out down here at Autzen. It is cold. What a beautiful day for football. We'll update you. Michigan has it 4th and goal on the 3-yard line. They are going to attempt a field goal, and they made it to go up 13-10. So here is the. I know we got screens going, and Dusty's ahead of me over there. He's going to ruin it all. Which one do I look at? So it is 13-10. There are 45 seconds remaining in the game, and Ohio State has the ball. They will need a field goal to send it to overtime, and a touchdown, obviously. Would win it. A look ahead to next weekend, if you're just wondering how that all plays out. This new year and the playoff and all that, we're trying to figure it out. Next weekend, if Ohio State loses, Oregon would play Penn State. If Penn State wins today, they take on Maryland. That should be a win, but I thought this should be a win for Ohio State too. So who knows? And if Penn State loses, then it's Indiana. So and if they all lose, then it's back to Ohio State. So it just, we'll see how it all plays out today. But Oregon's opponent for next weekend, they're already cemented into playing in Indianapolis. Is still up in the air at this point, which I did not think was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just the beauty of college football this time of year, man. You never know. Rivalry games, it can be wild. It does sound like, and we'll start diving into the matchup here, boys, 4:30, Oregon and Washington, looking to end a 3-game losing streak. It sounds like, now not guaranteed that he's going to start or at least take every snap, but it looks like Damon Williams is going to get the majority of the snaps at quarterback for Washington today. And I don't think that's a surprise to anybody on the Oregon staff, but we can start with you, Anthony. We'll go down the line just of a mobile quarterback, the impact that can have, and he's a guy who maybe a little bit limited as a thrower of the football, but a dynamic athlete, and Oregon has seen a handful of those so far this year.
As a defensive coordinator, you hate the quarterbacks that can run. Because you have to account him in the scheme, and that's a problem. Because usually you're taking a linebacker or maybe a defensive end. You're like, can you stop this quarterback if he decides to run? And more than you can't. You can't. It doesn't work, and that's why a mobile quarterback can hurt a defense. But at the same time, if you can keep him in the pocket and make him throw the ball. Okay, that's not his forte, throwing the football. Even though he's quarterback, he's not doing it so good. Keep him in the pocket, keep him contained, make him throw the ball. The receivers for Washington, they're okay. They're not bad. Boston is pretty good, but still, you got corners that can cover these guys, make him throw the football and stop the run.
You got Coleman, the running back, who's had a phenomenal year, and he is a dude in every sense. Damon Williams, though, in that +1 running game, when you add that quarterback, it does make it really hard. And this is one of the things that, Dan Lanning instituted when he was at Georgia was the middle linebackers that run 53 1/3, can play sideline to sideline.
Right.
That is where the speed of guys like Jeffrey Bossa, Bryce Betcher, Devin Jackson, they pay dividends because usually you don't have guys that can keep up or hold up with the kind of speed of a quarterback. But when you have guys like those, it helps tremendously. Damon Williams is a great athlete, though. Yep. And as fast as Devin Jackson and Bryce Betcher and Jeffrey Bossa are, he's a step quicker. And so that makes things a lot more difficult. And, this has kind of been the thing that it's been hard on Oregon's defense. Yep. Not a lot has really plagued them this year, but athletic and mobile quarterbacks, guys that can extend plays, think back to Idaho, right? And then you can kind of go from Idaho to Illinois, and when he was running around, Will Howard at the end of the game against Ohio State, when the quarterback is running, it makes your life a whole lot harder as a defense.
We saw Giovanni McCoy a little bit early in the Civil War.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Now add the defensive line with Oregon and how well they're playing lately. That could also be a problem for them.
Yeah.
Because you got Jordan Birch, if he's going to play or not, and still, regardless, you have Mateo and you have just a ton of defensive linemen rotating in, so that means you're fresh. And people don't understand how that's so important for a defense. When you have fresh linemen, the offensive linemen are out there every snap. And they're going against a guy, he comes in and he's fresh. He's got new legs. Like, okay, I got to defend him. I got to pass block. Okay, I got to run block. And then next 3 plays later, you got a different defensive lineman coming in. That is hard. Yeah, and then you're running different stunts and different things, making those offensive linemen run, and they don't want to run. They want to be in a phone booth. Now you got them moving all over the place.
Yeah.
So that's an advantage for Oregon as well.
And just think of the gauntlet that they went through, 8 consecutive weeks with games and no bye week. Look, that bye week came at a perfect time, too, because that's when they start wearing down, is in the month of November.
Yes.
Well, and then you add in, too, not only for today coming at the right time, but an Oregon team who, no matter the outcome today, has future hopes of where this season's going to go, and they know they're playing next weekend. And so that's a benefit scheduling-wise. At Washington, also off the bye, so not a huge impact today either way in terms of rest, because both teams are coming in fresh to this game. But it's more of a long-term view of where you could go in the Big Ten title game and then the rest of the season. We're going to keep you up to date on everything going on around the world of college football. Right now, 35 seconds to go. Ohio State has it's 4th and 9 with 28 seconds to go. So an incomplete pass. It looks like Ohio State might go down. They're going to need a miracle here. Michigan has 1 timeout. Ohio State, no timeouts left. So Ohio State could be going down. We're going to take a quick break. Let's come back, reset everything. Oregon and Washington coming up. Final home game potentially of the year, depending on how next weekend goes in the Big Ten championship game. 4:30 on NBC. You can obviously hear it right here on the Fan Score Updates. More on this game. We're going to go behind enemy lines. You're going to hear from Joey Harrington, Dan Lanning, Mike Jorgensen, you name it. Bryce Betcher, some comments this week about how they feel about the Huskies. So we got a ton to get to over the next 2 hours. Just getting started down in Autzen on 1080 The Fan.
Drive time approaching now 2 hours and 25 minutes from here in Slabtown down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river, and then almost all the way between Salem and Albany. The rest of the way, though, is looking pretty clear. We do have a report of one Smoky at the start of that Salem slowing. 44, partly cloudy in Portland. 39, mostly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day. High of 44 for the 4:30 kick in Eugene. 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. Could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Have a special somebody on your shopping list that loves to golf?
Star Anthony Newman with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Welcome back into Autzen Stadium. A cold, chilly November afternoon. Oregon and Washington coming up at 4:30. We're going to go behind enemy lines here in a moment. We are just watching the aftermath of Michigan and Ohio State. So the game is over. Ohio State has lost to Michigan. If you're just driving down, you're wondering how that game played out. Michigan kicked a field goal with 45 seconds to go. Ohio State got the ball. They needed to go the length of the field. I should also add that Ohio State missed 2 field goals in this game. So they could have won just with a couple of made field goals already. They didn't even get a first down on their last drive. They turned it over on downs, only gained 1 yard. Michigan ran out the clock, and there has been, I don't even know how many fights to count at midfield between the two teams. There's all sorts of authorities and coaches and security. They're trying to break it all up.
Dude, Jim Harbaugh is running from L.A. to Columbus to get in on this.
Yes, he is. Who the Chargers got? They got the Falcons this week? That's a lock. I'm going to go lock in that bet right now. Chargers over the Falcons on Sunday. Ryan Day, I don't even know where to begin. This is a whole nother can of worms that we got our own game to deal with, but next weekend, which Oregon has already locked in.
His whole team is fighting, and he's on the periphery
just watching.
Just standing there.
He's just watching.
Watching everything burn around him. I don't know if a coach has ever been fired before a playoff game, but Ryan Day could be it. Like, you cannot lose this game if you're Ryan Day. He had a quote this week saying this was the worst thing that's ever happened to him, losing to Michigan. And then he had to remember that his dad died. And he said, other than losing my dad, this is the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. They have been building up for 3 years to try and win this game. It did not happen. Ohio State has lost. So, for Oregon, here's how it stands. If Penn State wins, which I believe they're just about to kick off against Maryland, they will play Penn State next week in Indianapolis. If they lose, as I said in the last segment, it would then be Indiana. If they all lose, it'd be back to Ohio State. So we'll keep you up to date.
We don't know who's going to play for Ohio State after fighting in the middle of the field.
Really? I don't know, and I don't know how those suspensions will work for a playoff game and how that's all going to play out. It was a gnarly brawl.
Everyone's going at it.
At midfield, there were guys getting thrown to the ground, guys throwing blows, and so there's a lot to kind of parcel through there in Columbus, but an absolutely shocking loss. And I kind of want to go back, guys, because we lost the signal in the opening segment of the show. So let's go back to where we all started. And I hope that this is a reminder. I think Oregon fans are going in excited. They're going in confident.
Yes.
Washington's not a very good football team. We got them at home. All of these same things were said by Ohio State going into this game today. Now, Ohio State's got offensive line issues, and I think that's the main reason they lost this game.
Yes.
Turnovers on top of it. But just to go back to where we started, Anthony, a good reminder of, rivalry games, go out there and execute because you just never know. And Washington's got nothing to lose tonight.
You have no idea. And it's – look, yeah, it looks great on paper. You are the team that's going to win. You're the team that's, it shouldn't be close.
Yeah.
And it's close, yet you got beat. You only scored 10 points against Michigan. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
10 points.
At home.
At home. It's like, okay, what's going on? What team showed up? What happened? I think that's the question that everyone will have is, what happened? Is it your offensive line that's just so beat up that you have no offensive line? So, therefore, is this the Ohio State team that's really, really good? Or if Oregon plays them again, they'll destroy them.
Right.
Because they have no offensive line, right? I mean, are they really good anymore?
I don't know,
I mean, seriously, 10 points?
I know. Indiana helped them a ton last week with turnovers and bad field position.
Yeah.
And it was kind of flipped today where Michigan's only touchdown came on a interception that Will Howard threw inside the 5-yard line. They had 2 yards to go. That was the only touchdown they scored all day. But a good lesson for the Ducks for tonight.
Well, and you look at it, and when an offensive line is banged up, that was the one position group at Ohio State that they said is not loaded to the gills. And this is one of the most, I think it has been, and I think it's the most talented team in all of college football. I mean, when you look at top to bottom, every position group, how talented they are.
Very.
But football is a war of attrition. When you have injuries that mount up and they start piling up in the wrong places, that's usually where it happens too. Is the place you can least afford to have the injuries is where they happen. And look, winning at a championship level, a lot of it is injury luck. And we look at all of those teams that are great year in and year out. Hell, look at the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL, for instance, right?
Yeah.
They have been so lucky with injuries over the course of their run that they're on right now. And the injuries that they do sustain aren't ones that are long-term and they get guys back. And you're looking at right now, they've been flirting with disaster, and they're getting Isaiah Pacheco back, and it's like, oh, well, they're going to be fine, right? Injury luck means a whole heck of a lot in the world of football, and Ohio State's been bitten by it, and it's going to be a big question they have to answer.
Oh, boy, what a bombshell early on today. It almost was one last night. Georgia needed 8 overtimes to survive Georgia Tech, and that was kind of the peak into the weekend we got. Everybody has looked at this season and wondered, those of us who are around and remember the 2007 football season, it's like a fever dream where everybody lost. So I think the national champion ended up being LSU, and they had 3 losses. Oregon got to 2, Boston College, South. Everybody that got to number 2 ended up losing. We have had that level of chaos really all year. There's been one constant. The only undefeated team remaining, the one playing in front of us tonight.
Yeah.
That's it. Everybody else has suffered a loss this year. But it could be a bombshell weekend around the sport, and we'll let you know any other scores that are coming in. Let's start diving into this matchup. We have been a little distracted here in the last 20 minutes with this Michigan-Ohio State ending. So the Buckeyes go down. Oregon likely to play Penn State now, and we'll keep you up to date on that score. Let's go behind enemy lines and talk to Chris Fetters of Dogman. What does he make of this matchup? What's the mindset for the Huskies going in? What does he see from Damon Williams? They're likely starting quarterback today. All that is next in Behind Enemy Lines, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes. Brought to you by Victoricos Mexican Food. Order Victoricos for your Game Day celebration in-store or online. For pickup or delivery at victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time approaching 2.5 hours from here in Slabtown down to Autzen, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river, almost all the way to exit 278, and then almost all the way between Salem and Albany, more slowing near exit 216. The rest of the way, though, is looking pretty clear. A couple of smokies as you pass through Salem. 44, partly cloudy in Portland. 39 and mostly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with a high of 44. For the 4:30 kick at Autzen, 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victoricos Mexican Food.
Duck fans, Game Day is here, and you need fuel to cheer on Oregon. Hey,
Lines, a look at Ducks opponents with the insiders who know them best on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. We are live down at Autzen Stadium. Just a beautiful November afternoon for football. It is chilly. It is cold. The wind is blowing, but the sun's kind of peeking out. We're trying to stay as warm as we can. Hope you're bundled up and ready to go for some cold football tonight. It's going to be a chilly one at Autzen Stadium, potentially the final home game of the year. We'll get into all those scenarios throughout the course of the show. We still got under 2 hours left, and obviously keep you up to date on everything going on around the sport. We're efforting to get Chris Fetters on, and so if we get word from him, we'll talk to him. But let's look at this Washington defense a little bit, guys, where it's a group where I'm having a hard time kind of looking at them, where the numbers on the season pretty solid. Like if you look at their, overall defense, they're top 6 in the Big Ten, which isn't terrible because there's some good defense that gets played in this conference. Rush defense is a little bit of a different story. They're 15th in the conference in run defense.
Correct.
Pass defense is where they hang their hat. It's 160 yards per game. That's number 2 in the country. But then there's the other side of it is how many elite offenses have they played? And that's why it's hard to look at numbers and where they bear out. But I'm wondering, Anthony, going in, if Oregon's looking at it saying they're 15th in the conference in run defense, let's pound the rock here tonight at Autzen.
Why not run the ball? Use your offensive line to your advantage. Jordan James and Noah Whittington, their running backs, that tandem is unbelievable. And then you have an offensive line that I think is getting healthy, okay? And you had time off, so now you can get healthy. If you had some injuries, you're able to heal up a little bit. But run the ball, control the clock. Get out, I know Tez Johnson's going to be back, so that's a threat. You still have Evan Stewart. You got all these receivers. But if you run the ball, that's going to open up the passing game anyway, if you run the ball with success. And Washington's defense, they're okay. And, again, when we talk about being okay, it's their secondary what makes them good. Yeah. Their front seven, they have some struggles. Yeah. And, again, you said it. Well, who did they play? Who have they beat? Who did they lose to? They haven't really played anybody. Yeah. So it's hard to really look at those stats and go, well, yeah, they're good, they're not good. We'll find out today.
Well, and also when you are trailing in a football game, okay, you are going to throw the ball more.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
you are leading in a football game, you run the ball more.
Yep.
And especially when you want to play that ball control, keep away. I wouldn't want Washington's offense, even with Will Rogers or DeMond Williams. Like, the much maligned Will Rogers has always been a confusing one. Is he one of the best quarterbacks in the country? No. He's dangerous, though, and he was effective, and he's pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. The season isn't going the way that Washington would want. So if you want to go DeMond Williams, then you develop and grow the young guy, and now it looks like it's going to be DeMond Williams' time. But I think that's what a lot of teams are doing, too. When you are in control of a football game, you run the ball against them.
Yeah, it's a great point, and they've trailed in a lot of games, especially on the road this year. You look at the Penn State game, Indiana game against a backup quarterback, the Iowa game got out of hand in the second half, so a lot of those were games where teams just kind of churned out yards on the ground as the game went on, and sometimes the stats can be a little misleading. I think the other part of it, too, is if DeMond Williams ends up taking the majority of the snaps, I think if you're Oregon, you want to make sure you build that lead up so you're not, one, in an uncomfortable game in the second half, but two, and maybe this is where, to Dusty's point, Will Rogers ends up getting more snaps because he can throw the ball. But if you put DeMond Williams in a 17-point hole in the third quarter and they become a little more one-dimensional offensively, you go ahead and take your 7-8-yard scrambles all you want. Yeah. You're not going to get chunk plays through the air, and we're going to kind of bottle you up and make you go the length of the field. And so there's a benefit there. What does it mean for Oregon? We're not going to get Chris Fetters. He's given us the rivalry treatment and not answering his phone.
Oh, no.
So the mind games are already started with the puppies who are too scared to come on and talk a little Washington football because this game doesn't matter to them, right? It doesn't matter. Who cares? We beat them last year. I love you, Chris Fetters. Let's hear from instead somebody who will rile everybody up, and that is Bryce Betcher, who is one of the most beloved Ducks we've had in a while, obviously a two-sports star. Here's what he said this week about the game and the matchup.
There's a little extra into this game, and for those that say, there's not, don't worry about the opponent. I mean, I think it's a little bit BS. I hate the Huskies. I've never liked them. So I'll be playing my butt off when game time, the ball's kicked off. So, yeah, it's time to go.
It's kind of refreshing in modern college football where you get a lot of guys who are transfers. They don't know. Here's an Oregon kid.
Thank you.
Knows it, and he's bringing the hate.
He's
tonight.
from Eugene.
Yeah, he knows it, man.
I mean, he never wears purple. It's just like I can't stand the Huskies, and he's going to tell everybody about it, and he doesn't care, and that's what I love. Yeah. Just tell him. Let him know.
Because what is he going to hurt his NFL draft stock? He's going to go play Major League Baseball, for God's sakes.
He's already got his future plans figured out, man.
Yeah, really.
Hey, but if you can't get behind that guy, I don't care who you are. If you are a Washington fan, you're driving down to Eugene right now, and you just heard that, you're like, I kind of like that guy.
Yes.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
I don't want him to like me. He shouldn't like me because this is a rivalry. This is what it's all about.
Yes.
You should have a little bit of that hate in your heart and let it out in a week like this.
Yes.
I think you lose some of this, and I think there's another example of it in the game tonight where he has been awesome this year. His numbers don't jump out largely because guys aren't throwing his way. But in the modern college football world, now we have a guy who is, and that hadn't happened many times in the Oregon-Washington history, you got a guy who has played on both sides of it and been a good player on both sides of it, and Jabbar Muhammad, who they're having conversations in Seattle this week about, do we even acknowledge his time as a Husky? Do we even, do we ever give him credit for being on a team that went to the national title game and went 13-0 and won the last Pac-12 title? They want to scrub him from the record book. So you get the other
last year.
Yeah, I think they were big fans. Now you get the other side of it, where it's just funny. Where I love having guys, because you don't have it as much, Anthony. You know, when you played, there were a lot more local kids on these teams that understood the rivalries a little bit more. And now it's more, it gets from Texas and Georgia, Louisiana, all over.
You're all over. Yeah,
you don't quite have that same feeling. And so I'm wondering if Betcher's sitting the team down with a PowerPoint presentation on, this is why for all 22 years of my life I've hated the color purple.
Well, it's funny. He's doing that, but then also going back to Muhammad, he played there last year at Washington. Okay, but those teammates, those guys on Washington, they're not his teammates.
Yeah, they're all gone.
Everybody's left.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of new guys. So, but still, I know it's still going to be strange for Muhammad to play against his old team in this big game. He's done so much for Oregon secondary. He's one of the best corners in a long time. He's a baller. With that knowledge of knowing your old teammates and how they run routes and what they like to do, and man, that's an advantage.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it is if those guys are not playing on that team this year.
Look, let's not act like Jabbar Muhammad wasn't a hired gun for Washington last year. He started at Oklahoma State.
Right.
He started at Oklahoma State and he goes to UW and now he's at Oregon. And look, I had
really.
I got a chance to catch up with him in the preseason. I was just asking him, how awkward was that? How do you walk into that room in the spring and be like, hey
guys, and remember last year? That was fun.
He said, the reason why I'm here is because I saw something that I admired at Oregon. Even when he was playing at Washington, he was looking at it from afar, and he said, now that they're building something there. I want to be a part of that there. And once you can kind of bridge that gap, it goes away pretty quickly because you guys are all pulling in the same direction.
The game has changed so much.
So much.
When you're playing on another team against a team that you hate, and you're going, I kind of like what they're doing over there. I think I'm going to go play over there next year.
Hey, I'll take all of them, man. Jonah Coleman want to come over next year? We could use another back. Hell, Denzel Lawson's a good wide receiver. Come on down, buddy.
I think Kalen DeBoer and everyone else leaving probably had a big
something to do with it.
A big role
to play in that.
But to Anthony, your point, he does have some of these wide receivers were in the system last year, and so you got those, not big time players for them on Saturdays, but you got to see them a lot throughout the season and in practice and all that. So a little bit of knowledge and understanding coming into the game for Jabbar Muhammad, who's having a great season for Oregon. He's just not putting up a lot of numbers because teams aren't throwing at him.
That's
man.
right.
He's just kind of taking away one side of the field.
He's really good.
He's really good. Let me give you a quick score update as well. It's kind of be the theme of the show today. Penn State's already losing. They fumbled on their opening possession, and Maryland scored a touchdown, and now they just got stopped after a big kick return, and so it is 7-0 Maryland. Just score update.
It should be noted, again, if Ohio State has lost, if Penn State loses, and Indiana wins, it's Indiana. If all three lose, here we go, back to Ohio State.
Right back to the Buckeyes. Indiana's got Purdue today. Talk about shocking losses. That would be up there on the scale, but you never know in this year of college football. Penn State's lining up for a field goal. We'll let you know on all the score updates here coming up throughout the course of the show. That was Behind Enemy Lines, where we didn't have Chris Fetters. We love him. Hopefully he's doing all right, and hopefully he enjoys the game today. Let's get to the injury report. I'm sure everybody wants to know.
Hopefully he does not enjoy the game today.
Hopefully he's crying at the end of the game tonight at Autzen
But
Stadium.
we do love Chris Fetters. He's a good dude.
Let's go find out who's in, who's out. What do we know injury-wise? That is coming up next in Zoom Care Injury Report. But now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather. Every 10 minutes brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your Game Day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time now, a solid 2.5 hours from here in the Slabtown neighborhood down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river, almost all the way to exit 278, and then almost all the way between Salem and Albany. You got more slowing near exit 216, the rest of the way down to Eugene, looking pretty clear though. Reports of a smoky north of Kaiser and also south of Albany. 45 and fair here in Portland, 39 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44 for the 4:30 kick at Autzen. 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day.
We should have our guys available. Right now, we're still waiting to see. Have some guys that still have to get healthy.
This is the Zoom Care Injury Report. A look at the injuries that could impact today's game and the key matchups in college football. Brought to you by Zoom Care. With more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington, Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team, currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at zoomcare.com.
All right, who's in and who's out? Time for the Zoom Care Injury Report. And we do not have the answers to those questions because Dan Lanning has been asked repeatedly since Monday and after practice on Tuesday, hey, guys going to play today? Yeah, you'll find out Saturday when they take the field. You'll see who's in uniform. But I do know the guys that we're obviously going to keep our eyes on today. The main ones, Tez Johnson, Jordan Burch, and Marcus Harper. And I want to have a conversation with you guys. I'll start with you, Dusty, just on – it seems like offensively they have really missed Tez here the last couple of weeks. I'm having a hard time kind of, shifting through. Is it, the 8 straight games and Harper being down is obviously a blow a bit to the offensive line where the passing game just hasn't quite clicked the last 2 weeks? How much of it is the fatigue? How much of it is not having Tez because he's so good on third down and finding soft spots and zones and yard after catch? So if he plays tonight, it's great. If not, I'm just curious what you've made of the passing attack without him here the last 2 weeks.
I've been saying this since he got hurt, and really even before. It's the gravity of Tez Johnson. It's not even when he gets the ball, right? But when you put Tez in motion, you have to have a linebacker, safety, a corner, all having their eyes on where 15 goes. And it's because he has that blend of explosiveness and speed, and he's a precision route runner too. And so when you don't have him, you can motion a freak of nature like Kenyon Sadiq across the formation, but you know exactly what's going to happen, right? It's going to be force on force, and you're not going to have to expend as much attention on that one guy who's coming across. Tez's gravity means a lot to this team and what they were doing. Also, you go into a bye week, you do a lot more self-scouting.
Yes.
All right, hey, and reminder, everybody, when you are in the thick of it, and it is week to week, you're drinking out of a fire hose, man.
Right.
You are sitting there going, no, we need to get our guys ready to go. When you have that bye week after 8 consecutive weeks of games, this offensive staff can take a breath and say, wait a minute, what do we need to change up so we can be more effective? Because what you see is what you get in that 8-week run.
Yep.
It's really hard to self-scout in that time.
Tez Johnson he's different and he's special.
Yeah.
He's not your ordinary receiver. As defensive guys, we label receivers, he's a short route runner. He runs deep routes. He runs hitches. He runs bubbles. Tez Johnson can do it all, and that's the problem. And when you're talking about going in motion and you send him in motion, well, where's the matchup? This game is about matchups. Put a linebacker on the receiver, put a safety on the receiver. What's going to happen? Now he's going in motion. Who has this guy? Now the DB has to go all the way across behind the linebackers to travel to try to cover Tez Johnson going in motion. That's a problem. They've missed that. Now, I don't know if he's coming back and they'll get that today, but they do miss that. And Dylan Gabriel, that was his guy. So he's looking down the field. He's looking for receivers to separate from defensive backs. And he was the only guy who's separating. I'm going to throw the ball to him every time. And Dylan got used to throwing the ball to Tez Johnson. He didn't have him, so he's trying to figure out that first game he didn't have him. He was a little struggle from time to time. But Tez Johnson, he's a different character, man. The guy is $150 wet in one of the.
So true, man.
He's one of the baddest receivers in the nation. He really is.
Yeah, one of my favorite concepts that they run is that they'll motion Tez from one side of the formation over to the other, and then they will run him on like a 15-yard over route back to where he came from.
Yes.
And so you have the entire defense moving and shifting one way, saying, uh-oh, here comes 15, and then he runs right past him the other direction.
Yeah.
That is very tough to defend.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and then how do those conversations go? Like Tez posted on Instagram, hey, I'm back, which I'm sure Dan Lanning loved that he went to Instagram and said I'm back because they don't know if he's cleared or not to play. And guys practice for a while. And, Gary Bryant was practicing for a bit before they let him be, cleared for a month before he was cleared to play in a game. How do those conversations go in the complex of a guy saying, hey, this is my senior day. I want to beat Washington. I want to be in the lineup. Hey, Tez, we got bigger things we want to accomplish. We want you to be healthy. You might be at 70%. You're cleared maybe for contact, but not full. That's got to be a difficult call for Tez as a player, for them as a staff of, he wants to play tonight, I'm sure, but you also have more things you want to accomplish.
I think it's all about, who's the head coach in his philosophy. If a kid wants to play and the doctor says he's healthy, he plays. And then some guys were looking at the strategy. Oh, we need to save him. A lot of coaches don't like to say we want to save a guy.
Yeah.
Now it's the end of the season. I think if you're looking at third game of the season, yeah, let's hold him off a little bit. Let's make sure he's okay. Now, hey, it's time to take care of business. Now, I know this game doesn't mean a lot, but yes, it does mean a lot.
Yep.
It's the senior game. It's it's Washington, the rival game.
A 12-0 season on the line, man.
Yes, exactly right. So he's your best player. You play him. Maybe you don't play him the whole game, but he plays. He gets in there and wants to get a feel of the game. Getting back to, hey, Dylan, I'm open. I created that separation from the defensive back. But if you just sit him out like, oh, we're going to rest him, I think the next game he comes back rusty.
Yeah.
And that's the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
So you don't want to rest him.
It's not an easy call.
No, you want to play him. Go play. The doctor said it's okay.
And that's kind of like the difference. Like when you were here, it was rub some magic dirt on it, and if you feel good enough to go, you're ready to go. Right?
That's exactly right.
Now, and then it went
Is it
to
broken? No, you're good.
And then it went to, okay, a doctor's got to clear you. Now, if you look across the landscape of college football, I dare you to go and look at a staff for a football program, and you just go, huh? What is going on here? Because it isn't just a team doctor. It's not just a trainer. It's the athletic performance guys, the strength
totally
coordinators, where they have to reach certain metrics that you have to reach in order to come back, where you have to lift this right amount of weight in the green zone or whatever it is. Like, they're not putting guys back unless they're ready to go.
Hey, I feel good. No, that's not enough anymore.
No more magic dirt is being thrown around the world of college football unless you're like a middle linebacker with a neck roll.
That's right. Yeah, that's the only guys that are allowed back in right away. So we'll keep an eye on that. Your guess is as good as ours if those guys end up playing. Jordan Birch, obviously, one we'll have our eyes on in pregame warmups. Marcus Harper, the offensive lineman. Don't also forget Jaleel Florence, who's been kind of flirting with coming back for a while now. Seems like he's maybe getting close as well.
Jamari Caldwell went down that last play.
Jamari Caldwell as well, yes.
Yeah.
So he went down late in the Wisconsin game.
So Amari Washington, too, got dinged in that game.
Ooh, buddy. Thank God for bye weeks late in the season. I'll take it, man. Good thing about an expanded schedule and all that. They got a bye week last week at the right time, and we'll see how it impacts them health-wise here. Kickoff coming up in 3.5 hours. Zoom Care Injury Report brought to you by Zoom Care, with more than 20 neighborhood clinics in Oregon and Southwest Washington. Zoom Care offers convenient access to same-day urgent and emergency care, plus an expanded primary care team currently accepting new patients. Schedule or learn more at ZoomCare.com. Let's get our locks of the week. We'll do that coming next. Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
You already know Motorsport Hillsboro has the largest
for our intrepid hosts to give you their lock of the week in college football.
If I were a more serious college football gambler, I would have locked this in earlier.
The Legends Casino Hotel Lock of the Week. Brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance.
All right, welcome back in as we're finding out from Jeff Russ during the break there. If you're just getting in your car, the big news of the college football day today is that Ohio State lost to Michigan in one of the more shocking results of the entire season. Ohio State was nearly a 3-touchdown favorite. I think it closed at about 20.5, and Michigan won the game 13-10. Ohio State did not score a point in the second half. And after the game, there was a massive fight on the field, and Michigan players got pepper sprayed by cops to break up the fight.
I saw the kids standing on the sideline when it was over, and they were crying. I thought they were crying because they won. They got pepper sprayed.
The emotions of the game, man.
Oh, Jesus.
Unbelievable.
That is a comment from a guy who just won a state title.
Yes,
He's
his
like,
kids
you
are
know
crying.
what?
We won.
That's where his mind goes to.
That's my God.
Everybody else is like, what about the guy spraying him in the face?
Unbelievable, man. What a day. What a day in college football. Let's get to our lock of the week. I don't know if you guys have any. I'm on a horrible streak, so I'm just going to throw one at you.
All right.
I got a buddy on the staff at Iowa State. They need a win tonight to get into the Big 12 title game, and so we're riding with the Cyclones. They're at home against Kansas State, which I did not realize was a rivalry game, but it is a rivalry game.
No,
Kansas State and Iowa State. They are a 1.5-point favorite. It's going to be freezing cold there in Ames, Iowa tonight, and I think the Cyclones get the job done on Senior Day to get to the Big 12 title game, and I'm going to take Iowa State minus 1.5. There's your lock of the week. How do we feel?
I feel good about nothing this week.
I know. Did
you watch Michigan and Ohio State?
Yeah. Blindfolded throwing darts at a board.
Are you guessing? Yeah.
I got nothing, man. I'm out. Yeah. My confidence from earlier in the season has been shook. I'm Ryan Day of picking games right now. Don't trust me in a big game, all right? That's all I got to say. The lock of the week.
Did you dye your beard?
I kind of, it's a little red, but I should. Maybe it'd look better. Lock of the week brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish. Legends Casino Hotel within winning distance online. LegendsCasino.com. Let's get to our Audi Wilsonville keys to the game. That is coming up next, but now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather. Every 10 minutes brought to you by Victorico's Mexican food. Order Victorico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at Victoricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time approaching 2.5 hours from here in Slabtown down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville, and then also over the river, almost all the way to exit 278, then almost all the way between Salem and Albany. You got some more slowing near exit 216, and starting to see some slowing going through Coburg. Reports of a smoky north of Kaiser, and a couple more south of Albany. 45 and fair here in Portland, 39 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with a high of 44 for that 4:30 kick at Autzen. 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victorico's Mexican food.
Auto accident? Let Leif's Auto Collision Centers handle your
units that have to have a big day for the Ducks. Brought to you on The Fan by Audi Wilsonville, offering unmatched service to help you find the perfect car. Online at AudiWilsonville.com.
All right, we'll keep you up to date on scores from around the country in college football. The final regular season Saturday. We are live down at Autzen Stadium. It is cold November football today as the Huskies are in town. Final game of the regular season, Oregon and Washington coming up at 4:30. Audi Wilsonville, keys to the game, Anthony. Just toss it right to you, man. When I ask Keys, what's the most important thing for a win tonight?
The guys in the trenches.
Yep.
The big boys up front on the offense and the defensive line. The defensive line, put pressure on the quarterback. Get to the quarterback and stop the run. For the offense, create those holes for the running backs. Want the running backs to have success. Jordan James is a beast, and sometimes he's telling guys, just get in the way. I don't need you to block anybody. But when they block somebody, now he can take it 60. And that's really important in this type of game when it's cold.
Yep.
The ball's going to be a little frozen when they throw it. It's not wet, but it's still cold. So this is the time to, hey, let's just put some extra layers on and go play smash mouth football.
It's like getting jammed with a wood bat. He's like, it hurt my hand. Damn it, it hurt, man.
Exactly.
What's your biggest key tonight, Dusty, for a win?
I'm with Anthony in this. Run the damn ball.
Yeah.
Stop the run the ball. I mean, that is it. You want to grind out games in November. And look, we know that this Oregon team, when they're at their health is at its peak and Tez Johnson is in the lineup and everybody's rolling, we know there can be explosive and Dylan Gabriel can push the ball down the field. And they're built for that. But you got to be built for November.
Yes,
and I think that's one thing that Dan Lanning and his staff, they really took to heart is when you're playing Big Ten football, we thought that this would be like in Ann Arbor or in Madison. Here we are in Eugene. But you got to play that style of game at some point, and they're going to be ready to do it. And, after this week, you're going into a dome for the Big Ten championship game, and then the college football playoff. That's not in bad weather cities.
No.
So you're going to be okay, but you got to get through this one, and that's in the trenches.
Yeah, it's going to be a cold weather game today. I'm going to go to something we don't talk very much about that we probably should because I know coaches want to. Special teams, man. You look at the Michigan-Ohio State game today, for those who didn't watch, one of the reasons Michigan got a score in this game was because Ohio State basically muffed a punt. They were punting from basically their own end zone and kicked it out to like the 30-yard line. And so you hand Michigan a short field. They missed a couple of field goals. You don't do those three things, Ohio State wins that game. Now, it's ugly, but they win that game. You make two field goals, you win the game 16-13. You don't need a last-second drive in order to win it. And so special teams we don't talk a lot about, but we've seen Oregon at times, the fumbled punt. Tez has been out. Gary Bryant's kind of solidified that role a little bit here the last few weeks, but hold on to the football. Don't do anything dumb on kickoffs. Make your field goals when you got to kick them. Special teams need to come up big as well today.
Well, it's funny. We always talk about offense and defense, but we never talk about special teams. And, when there's a good football team, there's a coach, he's harping on special teams, because it's forgotten. And, no, special teams, that will help us win football games. Punt returns, kickoff returns, covering punts, covering kickoff returns, and then kicking the ball, in bad weather, in good weather. So regardless, every game, it's important, as coaches will tell you, we have to win that department. We have to win with special teams, and that's at least one win. Now let's go get, offense or defense. But special teams, we must win. And some head coaches, they don't think about special teams. It's not what they do, and that's why they're not very good.
Yeah,
this is important.
They got some good ones, too.
Yeah,
Joe Lorg, the special teams coordinator, Zach
really
Tinker,
good.
his special teams assistant. Those two guys have dialed up. Think of all the scoring plays that have come off of special teams, whether, the Boise State game comes to mind, where that game, the momentum turned on its head because Oregon won the special teams battle. The fake punt that we saw, in the minus territory where – that may have been Dan Lanning's call to be like, nope, we're going to do this. But you know what? They dialed it up.
Yep.
And Jordan Birch looked like a sprinter being shot out of a cannon on that thing.
Really?
It is a massive aspect of a game that, look, Oregon has been really good at. There have been some glaring ones. You mentioned that punt. You put a freshman back in Pelham against Michigan.
Yeah, it backfired and it turned into a touchdown.
Yeah, that game was closer than it really should have been because
of that play.
Yeah.
And you had a game in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago where you made a lot of field goals. And so the field goal unit came up big. I know they faked the one, and that's the one everybody wants to talk about at the end. But the look was there. They damn near converted it. But field goal unit came up big in that game.
And we haven't talked about this much with that wind in Madison. When Oregon was going towards the end zone of death where nobody scored in all game long. And there was no touchdowns and no field goals. Nobody got in the red zone on one end of the field. Oregon did a really good job of cutting through the wind on those punts because field position was in Oregon's favor, kicking back that direction.
Yeah, little stuff, man. It matters. Special teams could be big tonight, and we'll see how the game plays out. Oregon and Washington coming up 4:30. Audi Wilsonville has your keys to the game, and they offer unmatched service to help you find the perfect car online. AudiWilsonville.com. Sun coming out, winds blowing. It is cold at Autzen Stadium. If you're driving down, look forward to a beautiful fall afternoon, winter afternoon, feels like, for some football here at Autzen. Let's take a look around the conference. What's going on in the Big Ten? Some finals from earlier. Penn State's playing, trying to clinch their berth into the Big Ten championship game next weekend. USC, Notre Dame going on as well. We'll give you some score updates from around the Big Ten. That is next. But now, time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration. In-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time now, right about 2.5 hours from here in the Slabtown neighborhood down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river almost to exit 278, and then almost all the way between Salem and Albany. Got more slowing near exit 216 and starting to see a bit of a backup going through Coburg. Smoky north of Kaiser and a couple more south of Albany. 45, partly cloudy here in Portland, 38 and partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44 here in Portland. For that 4:30 kick at Autzen Stadium, 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. Could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
It's time to take a look at this big, beautiful coast-to-coast conference.
More Big Ten teams, they will benefit. I can't wait for it.
This is the Big Ten Preview. A look at the conference schedule on the Odyssey app. And your home for Oregon Ducks football. 1080, The Fan.
All right, welcome back in, live at Autzen Stadium. Everybody's got their hand warmers out. We got some red noses going on. Everybody looks like Rudolph down here with the chilly wind. It's going to be a beautiful night for football. Let's take a look around the Big Ten. The biggest upset in the sport so far today, maybe of the year. I had years maybe a little aggressive, but I am shocked.
No, of the year.
Michigan beat Ohio State.
I don't know. Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
That is true.
Okay, let's go back that one.
That is true.
Let's back up. Yeah,
and the spread, I think that game was a 24-point spread, and Michigan today was about a 20-point underdog. So to the point spread, that was a bigger upset. That was the biggest surprise so far today, at least. Michigan has knocked Ohio State potentially out of the Big Ten championship game with a 13-10 win in Columbus. They didn't get it done. There were two games yesterday. Nebraska needs to sacrifice like a goat or something at this point. The way that they find, like how they create ways to lose games. I'm going to give you guys a stat. This blew me away. So Nebraska was up 10-0 on Iowa in Iowa at halftime last night. They lost the game 13-10. You want to know how many third down conversions Iowa had in that game? How many times they converted a third down?
By the way you're saying it, I'm going to say 0.
They were 0 for 10 on third down, and they won the game 13-10. They did not convert a third down in the game, and they won the game. I don't even know how that happens. I don't know how that's possible. That happened last night, so there's an update of the Big Ten for you.
Those Iowa game of all time.
They were outgained 300. What was the final yardage? 334 to 164. If you're wondering how they scored their touchdowns, Johnson, who's one of the best back, Caleb Johnson's a stud.
Wait, total yards 164?
They had 164 total yards of offense. They were outgained by 200 yards and didn't convert a third down, and they won the game 13-10. Caleb Johnson had a great breakaway run, similar to, remember the one that Genty had on Oregon where it looked like it was a 3-yard loss and he's like 40 yards down the sideline. He had one of those long runs where it's like, oh, they got him for a 3-yard gain, and he broke it long. And then the other one was they punted. Nebraska tried to field the punt inside their 10. The guy didn't touch it, but his teammate thought that he touched it, and so he went to go jump on the ball because he thought it hit him, but the guy got out of the way, and as he jumped on the ball, it bounced loose. Ira recovered it inside the 5-yard line. That set up their other touchdown.
They only had 5 first downs the entire game.
They had 5 first downs. I'm not kidding you. They had like 6 total plays for positive yards the entire game.
160.
In true Iowa fashion, their punter punted for 364 yards.
You're damn right he did.
364 yards of punts.
One of the most shocking box scores you'll ever see. Nebraska needs to sacrifice an animal.
Hey, that's the thing I tell my kids all the time. Yards don't beat you.
No,
Points do.
Points do. Yeah. Go ahead. Move it as much as you want, man.
Yeah, really.
So that was a final. Minnesota killed Wisconsin yesterday, 24-7. For anybody who was watching that one, little snowy game there in Madison. Another final from earlier. Illinois will finish the season ranked in the top 25. They beat Northwestern today, 38-28. So that's a 9-3 year for Brett Bielema. A couple of games going on right now.
Only one game back, Ohio State.
That's very true. Notre Dame's got a 7-0 lead on USC at the end of the first quarter down in L.A., and Maryland continues to lead Penn State. They got a 7-3 lead with about 4 minutes to go in the first quarter, although they just took a big sack. So they're going to likely punt on that drive and give the ball back to the Nittany Lions. Games later on tonight, you got Purdue, Indiana at 4, and then obviously Oregon and Washington at 4:30. There is a look at what's going on in the Big Ten Conference. Let's hear from the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning. He hops on with Isaac and Suk every week. You're going to hear what he had to say this week. That is coming up next. You got the Ducks pregame show live down in Autzen on 1080 The Fan.
Hey, folks, this union to help you reach your financial goals.
Oregon's a unique school in a sense that it becomes a school that a lot of kids consider their dream school, but they might be thousands of miles away. A great example of how the brand resonates throughout the United States.
The Ducks Coaches Corner with Isaac and Suk on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
So Washington obviously is completely different. What are they bringing to the table this year as opposed to last year?
Yeah, I think you still look at the roster and you say there's some really, dynamic players there, really talented at back. Obviously they've got a couple different quarterbacks that have worked for them. And one of them's been more of a passer and one's really, tough to get down on the ground, able to run around. And defensively, I think they're playing really well. They do some really good things there, defend well, and you see a lot of the NFL scheme stuff they carried over with the Patriots that they brought there. So yeah, definitely a team that's capable.
It sounds like, I know you guys don't talk about injuries, but Tez on his Instagram, if he's back, what does his presence? He seems like one of those gravitational guys that draws defenders to him. What does having him back in the fold, or what will it mean when he's back?
Well, he's obviously a great player. He's played really good football here for us at Oregon, and I think he's definitely a hard player in college football to defend. So. He adds a lot of elements. You have to be aware where he's at on the field at all times if he's out there.
Generally speaking, it sure seems like that you guys have stayed relatively healthy. Is that true? Like in the pantheon of your coaching here, has this been a pretty good year in terms of not too many injuries?
I think at this point in the season, everybody's banged up, and we've certainly had some this year. Would I say it's less than a normal year or more than a normal year? No, I think it's about the same. When you get to this point in the season, I think what's shown up this year for us is our depth as a team. Having quality players that are able to get out there and give great reps when somebody is down.
Good luck against the Huskies.
All right, appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
All right, you too. There he goes. Dan Lanning of the Oregon Ducks. His appearances here every Thursday brought to you by Unitas Community Credit Union. Like a coach's playbook, Unitas has a winning strategy for your finances. You, us, Unitas.
The drive time, right about 2.5 hours now from the city center to Autzen Stadium, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville, well over the river and almost to exit 278, then almost all the way from Salem through Albany. More slowing near exit 216 and starting to see kind of a big stretch north of Coburg, a smoky north of Kaiser, and a couple more south of Albany. 45, partly cloudy in Portland, 38 and partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44. For the 4:30 kick at Autzen, 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. Could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Rush with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Hey, folks, this is it. The best weekend. Let's find out who the next Ducks will be.
Oregon has really, really put their hooks in the Northwest. Suddenly, this class looks like it could be very, very special.
It's time for Recruiting with Andrew Nimick, the Ducks Game Day edition on 1080 The Fan.
All right, let's talk some recruiting with our recruiting insider, Andrew Nimick, at Andrew Nimick on Twitter. Go give him a follow, Director of Recruiting, High School on SI. And you can hear his show every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. right here on The Fan. Nimick, good morning to you. It sounds like right before we're jumping on the air, I'm all caught up, trying to follow the Michigan-Ohio State game. There's a lot going on. Looks like some good recruiting news for Oregon. What happened today? Who committed? What do we know about him?
Well, Oregon picked up an absolute monster of a commitment in Kendry Harrison, a class of 2026 prospect. Rated as highly as the number 6 player in America, comes in the composite rankings at number 9 overall. This is a 6'7", 245-pound tight end. Max Preps named him their Athlete of the Year nationally when he was a sophomore. You say, why? He's a 5-star tight end, but what else makes him special? he is also a borderline 5-star basketball recruit. North Carolina was after him to be their power forward and tight end, as was Miami and a whole host of other schools. This is a kid who averaged as a freshman something like 25 points, 14 rebounds a game. Kendre Harrison going to play both at Oregon. Again, he's right on the edge of being a 5-star recruit, a top 40 prospect nationally in hoops, and a top 10 recruit in football. If you missed his announcement on Instagram, it was hilarious. His principal or his AD made a video of him, and he narrated it silently to Instagram with things like, "Why is this so long? Oh, my God, why is there a PE highlight in this? You guys, I'm so sorry. I think she's trying to make a Netflix special, and can we turn this off?" Before his commitment to Oregon, he had a good time with it, even though, yes, it was a highlight video that was something like 10 minutes long. I get that he plays 2 sports, but probably shouldn't have had some PE highlights in there.
Are you telling me we got Julius Peppers? Is that what you're telling me right now, Nimick?
That's kind of I like staying away from that, but yeah, he's an edge rusher, tight end, and basketball recruit. Yeah, that's what North Carolina sold him on. Come be the next Julius Peppers, and he said, "I'd rather be the next Kendre Harrison at Oregon."
Yeah.
What was Eric Armstead as a basketball recruit? Because remember, that was the big selling point for Eric Armstead to Oregon too. Was I get to play defense, and you don't want to make me a left tackle, and I get to play basketball too.
I think that was a side bonus. Eric Armstead was not a North
We're nowhere
Carolina
near 5-star, huh?
level recruit. It's like, hey, we'll give you a jersey, and when we play Portland State or Portland, although I know those programs are getting better, we'll let you play late in the game. But, yeah, more of a 3-star hoops recruit. I mean, this is a kid who really, truly could end up being a McDonald's All-American in basketball.
Oh, wow.
And he's the number 1 tight end. And if you made a freaks list of most athletic players in the country, there's a good chance he'd finish in kind of the top 3, 4, 5 of that. Again, to put it in context, not for sophomores, for all athletes. Max Preps named him the number 1 athlete in America when he was a sophomore in high school. I mean, he is off the charts special. Has an NFL projection at defensive end, an NFL projection at tight end, and a borderline NBA projection on the basketball court.
Wow, that's remarkable. Now let's get to today, and I know there's some big guys that they're looking to close strong. It's that weird calendar year where it's like, all right, now you got the Big Ten championship game and signing day, and the portal opens up. Who's in town, and how do we feel about the list of guys who are making their trip to Eugene this weekend?
I think it's a very good list. I think you'd be really encouraged. Generally, Trey McNutt in town. I know Texas A&M's trying to flip him. He's dropped some SCO ducks today on social. Had a chance to DM with him a couple days ago. I feel very strongly he's going to stick with his commitment to Oregon. The name of the game today, apparently starting in the class of 2026, is that tight end position. Andrew Olish, the Michigan commit, the number 3 tight end in America, expected to be on campus, and Lincoln Cure, the 5-star tight end, also expected on campus. Jaron Sangapolutele, the 5-star quarterback, not on campus. Jakeem Stewart, the 5-star defensive tackle, not on campus. As this thing plays out, and I'll just drop this nugget as we lean into signing day, I think Oregon's been very, very, very smart about their NIL unofficial salary cap. They know what they want to spend at different positions. They know how much they have in the tank. I think there are a lot of schools late in this process, especially on the West Coast, who have swung and missed or just flat out misevaluated how much positions cost, and to play makeup have offered monster deals to players that maybe are $1 million, $2 million, $3 million over what you kind of project for that position and that ranking. So I think a couple of Oregon's targets they had a good shot for, and at the end a couple schools went, hey, what about an extra XXX amount of money? And that changed things. No, not X-rated, just mind-bogglingly high numbers.
Okay, that's an interesting note. Where did you think their class ends? I know we'll chat next Saturday, and that'll be kind of right on the heels of it in terms of signing day. I believe somewhere top 10-ish, but the quality of the player that they have committed is very high, but the total number of players a little bit lower. Where do you think the class ends up finishing when signing day is all said and done?
I think it's 8th right now. I think they're going to flirt with top 5, and I think I'll add this. if they had gone all in the way that they feasibly could, I think they'd finish top 3. And you go, well, why don't they? Well, I think the price is late. And this is nationally. I'm not just speaking for Oregon. I'm speaking from a position of talking to the guys throughout the country. Prices have gone up really high, really late. And I think the smart programs are going, okay, maybe we have not the most exciting fireworks filled last week, but we're going to hit the portal with a whole lot more money than some of these schools who are spending $3, $4, $5, $6 million for non-premium positions because they're trying to close out their class with a high 4-star, low 5. Let's go to the portal and get 3, 4, 5 guys that really add value to what we're doing. So don't be shocked if you see Jakeem Stewart not choose Oregon on signing day. Don't be shocked if Jaron Sangapolu-Tele ends up at Cal. I think it still possibly ends up at Oregon, but if he ends up at Cal, don't be shocked if they don't suddenly land that 5-star recruit and flip them late. I think they're being really smart about how they play this out, and I think they finish with a borderline top 5 class. Remember, they have the number 1 class in the nation already in 2026, and then a really good portal class. I look for the composite ranking to be 1 or 2. Oregon with transfers, I believe, will end up 1 or 2 in America.
Interesting. Great stuff. Andrew Nimick, he's our recruiting insider. You can catch him every Thursday on The Fan, 7 to 8 p.m. Follow him on Twitter at Andrew Nimick as we head into signing day for all the updates on what's going on Oregon recruiting. We always appreciate it, Nimick. Enjoy the game, and we'll chat again next weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
There you go. Andrew Nimick, good stuff from him on where Oregon is at recruiting-wise. The tight end they signed today, that's a monster athlete. Holy hell,
6'7"?
man.
Wow.
Number 1 athlete in America.
I'm landing somewhere between Julius Peppers and Eric Armstead.
Okay,
so,
somewhere in the middle there. I think we're right in the sweet spot there.
Wow.
That's impressive
Sounds
stuff.
okay.
We'll keep an eye on how signing day closes out for Oregon as a top 10 class currently, maybe finishes higher. The overall caliber of the recruit they have in their class right now, I believe, is second to none in the country. They just have a little bit of a lower total than what some other classes do, and that's why they're ranked 8th, because some other schools have 5, 6, 7, 8 more players that are currently committed. But another great recruiting class on the way for Dan
It sounded
Lanning.
like he was talking with the NFL draft about how much money they have to spend and all this. And
let's go to free agency
Let's
instead.
go to free agency. Wait, are we in college or are we in NFL?
This unproven kid wants $4 million when I could go get a guy who started for 2 years for $2 million. I'm going to take that guy.
What do you think Anthony Newman out of Beaverton High School is getting on the
what's the
open
NIL?
I don't know.
What are we getting to deal with, you know? What's the deal we're getting?
What's that number?
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, what's the number of the how do we settle this relationship today, Anthony Newman? How do we close this deal, all right?
We know that you
get an autograph
you
here.
were definitely going to have the crumble cookie.
Yeah.
Crumble cookie would have been the deal
you
for sure.
definitely had that NIL.
Without a doubt, baby. Without a doubt. All right, there you go. Andrew Nimick, great stuff from him. Let's reset things. Fans are on their way in. Oregon and Washington coming up at 4:30. We're getting closer and closer to kickoff here down at Autzen Stadium as kickoff coming up. That is all on the horizon, but now it is time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather as the mayor of Eugene is just shaking everybody's hand. Game Day traffic and weather. If you watch on YouTube, you can watch all the people come say hi to Anthony Newman.
He says, no, I'm not the
humble
mayor.
Anthony. Autograph sessions coming up after the show.
Up.
They're already here. They're the long line waiting for the autograph. Here they come. Now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican. Order Victor Rico's for your Game Day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Currently looking at about a 2.5-hour trip from the city center here in Portland down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from Tualatin, Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river, then almost all the way from Salem through Albany. More slowing near exit 216 and starting to see some slowing north of Coburg. Got a couple of Smokies in the Albany area. 46 and fair in Portland, 39 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks Game Day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44. For the kick in Eugene, 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind, could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food.
Ducks Game Day continues.
One receiver to the right, second down and 3. Lock, back to throw. Sets, throws, batted down, intercepted! Mateo Iangalale with the interception!
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day, an insider's preview of today's game between the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies. Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors Light. Pacific Office Automation, Mods PDX, Victor Rico's Mexican Food, Legends Casino Hotel in Toppenish, by Zoom Care, Bellagio's Pizza, Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division, Audi Wilsonville, Laurelhurst Market, by Unitas Community Credit Union, and by Langdon Farms Golf Club. Now, here are your hosts, Andy Johnson, Dusty Hara, and former Ducks and NFL star Anthony Newman, with Ducks Game Day on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Live down at Autzen. The gates are open. Everybody's got their warm gear on. Fans are stopping by, saying hi to the mayor, saying they want snow. It's cold enough to snow, it feels like, but no precipitation in the air as the coldest weather game of the year, it feels like. Although, is this colder than what it was in Madison a couple weeks ago? It is?
Yeah. No, I did not want to be called soft. I got this nice big down Nike jacket.
That's a big jacket. You got a big jacket on.
When we went to Madison, I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to be called soft. These Midwesterners, they're going to think I'm soft if I wear this thing." It's colder here than it was in Madison. I'm wearing this thing today.
We won't make fun of you here. This is cold for all of us
I know.
Here. Yeah.
Thank you, Dirt.
I'm with you. I'll support you. I wish I had one. I went to look to go buy one in the commercial break. They didn't have any big jackets in there, man. I don't need another sweatshirt. I need a jacket. So we're having a blast down here at Autzen Stadium, getting closer and closer to kickoff. And let's talk about a couple of the guys who might end up playing their last game at Autzen. Now, we don't know. If Oregon loses the Big Ten title game next week, they will be bumped out of the top 4. And so then we'll get
maybe.
another.
I don't know.
Well, no. That one's guaranteed at least.
Top 4.
Right.
So they might still host a playoff game, so it might not be the last game at Autzen Stadium. But let's just kind of start down the list and go down it, guys, where Dillon Gabriel and just what he's meant, man. To go from Bo Nix and what he was able to do last year, the efficient level that he played at, and now having a great run as a rookie in the NFL in his first season, to Dillon Gabriel, there hasn't been that much of a drop-off. Doesn't happen. Look at all these programs around the country looking to replace their star quarterback. Oregon has done it better than anybody.
Well, how do you do this? How do you come in 1 year and play like you do as a quarterback? That's what, to me, is amazing. I mean, they're always talking about we need to develop players for 2 or 3 years. He comes in 1 year and it's a start. Now, it's who he is. He's a good quarterback. He knows how to play the game, but you still have to get used to the system. You have to get used to the concepts. You have to get used to the players. It seems like he's been here for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
it's really strange.
The mastery of the system, and I know there was a lot of consternation at the beginning of the year, right? Like, hey, Dillon Gabriel, what's wrong with him? It's like, look, guys, he's got to see it in live action.
It takes a while.
Like, it's going to take a minute here, real quick. But I think what is incredible is his chemistry with his receivers.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people that say he locks on to, Tez or T-Ferg a little bit too much. It's like, well, you probably would too if you were a first year in a system. We saw the comfortability between Bo Nix year 1, year 2, just with targets, familiarity. But I think especially Dillon Gabriel being a lefty and him coming in and building that rapport with his receivers, it's been pretty impressive to see. He is the real deal. He is as advertised.
And also, let me tell you, he's not 6'4". This guy is, 6 feet?
No.
Pushing 5'11"?
No.
Maybe 5'10"?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Say when. When do I stop?
It's hard for a quarterback, when you're behind these tall trees to see downfield and see who you need to throw to. And he has no issues with it at all.
Yeah.
But, and yet sometimes he's going to get out the pocket. But I think he throws the ball just as good in the pocket as out of the pocket because it's amazing. It really is. And, again, to come to a new system and do it the way he's doing it, it's unreal.
Windows, man. And when you are a shorter quarterback and you're living in the land of the Giants, because these offensive linemen are huge, too.
Massive guys.
I mean, if he is 5'10" and these offensive linemen are 6'4", 6'5", you have to slide and find a window to throw between. You're not Justin Herbert, who's throwing above the Giants.
That's right.
It makes it that much more difficult, and he is incredible at having that knack of feeling where the pressure's coming from and finding that spot.
A couple of guys I did want to mention as well because it is senior day, so we don't know if it will be the final home game or not. We hope Oregon wins next weekend. It looks like Penn State maybe just scored another touchdown, so inching closer to potentially a Penn State and Oregon Big Ten championship game. A couple of guys who've been around a long time and seen a lot of stuff. Patrick Herbert, Terrence Ferguson, a couple of guys on the offensive side of the ball, not the only seniors, but a few. And then on defense, I mean, you got guys, Betcher, who we talked about earlier and what he brings to the rivalry. Jeffrey Bassa, a guy who came in with Mario Cristobal
as a
safety, and they moved him to linebacker.
Yes.
You know, Keon Ware-Hudson, a guy who I feel like has been here for a decade at this point. Maybe even a Willie Taggart recruit with how many extra years that he got. It just the handful of guys, you know, in the transfer portal era, a lot of guys who will be senior days, Kobe Savage, guys who've been here for 1 year, made big impacts. Jabbar Muhammad, no doubt. A lot of guys who wrote it out, been through different coaching staffs, and just a moment to kind of appreciate what they've all meant to this program.
Well, Herbert, didn't he just get here? I mean, it seemed like he just got here. Seemed like he was a freshman. And in Bassa, come on, how did Utah let him go?
Yeah.
He's from Utah, and he's the type of player that plays in Utah. Tough kid, you know, will smash mouth, loves to smash mouth football. He's developed into a great inside linebacker. He went from safety to rover, a little outside linebacker, now to inside linebacker. And he's done a great job, and he knows the defense, gets everyone lined up. He's the captain on that defense. He's unreal.
Great young man, too.
Yes.
Great young man. And this is going to be the interesting thing. Like, if usually it's just like you go alphabetical order, right, on senior day.
Yep.
Do you go by years of service to the program? Do you start at 1 year, guys, and move up to 4?
I
That's
think
not
so.
a bad idea. That's kind of how I would do it.
Yeah, you would.
I mean,
you would.
do something like that. Because
Yes.
can you imagine what the roar is going to be like for a guy like Patrick Herbert?
I know.
We're out of Herberts, guys. We
There's
don't
no
got
more,
any-
no more Herberts?
He's the last one.
Does Justin have a kid yet?
No.
Can we start the clock
We
yet?
need to
Come on.
get this thing going,
Pop
guys.
one out, Justin. What are we doing in L.A.?
on.
The quarterback of the Chargers, man.
Let's go. Mitchell, the oldest. Come on, bud.
Yeah.
Let's get this thing going. We're out of Wilcox's and we're out of Herbert's
This
now.
cannot stand.
Yeah.
This cannot stand. We need to start producing more Wilcoxes and Herberts. It is. I love it, though. But, you know, there was a moment this week I was thinking about it where some of these guys, you know, Washington is a team who lost their staff. Lost basically their entire team as the Harleys warming up right next to us.
I mean, Carson Brunner's the only guy back.
The only guy back. I mean,
The
they
only
lost
one.
everybody. It is so easy to scatter to the wind when a coach leaves. And that happened to a lot of these guys. And I think there's a big point of pride in all of them who not only remain committed, but to think about the 2 years that they then spent, now 3 years with Lanning, and where the program is on their way out the door as opposed to where the program was 3 years ago, where it seems like the sky's the limit. I don't know where you go the rest of the year, but you're not going anywhere as a power in the college football world. There's got to be a lot of pride, man, of like, this is where we were in year one, getting blown out by Utah in the Pac-12 title game to where we are now as seniors. We left it in a better place, and there's no doubt about it.
Well, and that's also, you know, when people stay here for a long time, you know, people get to know them. The kids get, you know, in any program. And I think I'm used to that. I'm used to, hey, as a freshman, you stay there and you play 4 years.
You build up, you wait your time.
Yes, exactly. You know, the reason why guys are getting hurt now and then there's no backups, because the backups are leaving. Okay, because if you lose the starting job, you're going to take off. You're going to go, I'm going somewhere else.
You're not wrong.
And then when the starters get hurt, well, who's our backup? Well, we haven't developed anybody yet because we have nobody.
No time to.
Exactly. It's a problem. So I really respect the guys who've stayed in the program, and they're not starting. Okay, they're playing, they're getting in there, they're rotating, but they're not starting, not starters. And also they bring another guy in for 1 year, and he's the starter, and yet you're still here.
You're still riding it out.
In those 4+ year guys, they went through a coaching change too, and they didn't pull the ripcord like a lot of guys do. And like, I don't blame a player if you have a head coaching change and you're like, I want out, right? Like, I don't blame these guys for transferring, period. Do I believe that you learn a lot and you grow a lot from the lack of playing time or a new coach coming in? Because you can in the real world, but if you enter the real world and in the workforce, you may get a new boss. And are you just going to go pack up and find a new job when you get a new boss?
I'm out.
No, you can grow and you can learn a lot. But I don't blame these guys for saying, hey, I want what's best for my next opportunity. And a lot of these guys, they came in as Mario Cristobal guys. They're leaving as Dan Lanning guys, and I don't think there is a doubt about it. Every single one of these guys, they are Dan Lanning guys now.
Yes, they stayed, and they have been rewarded for it. Hour 2 of the Ducks Game Day on 1080 The Fan, presented by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment, choose chill, celebrate responsibly. Let's take a look at the scores around the country. A big upset earlier. We'll update you on the games going on right now. That is coming up next. We're live down in Autzen on 1080 The Fan.
I'm Leif, owner of Leif's Auto Collision.
16, starting to see some slowing north of Coburg as well, but not currently seeing any Smokies as of the moment. 46 and fair in Portland, 39 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day with a high of 44. For the 4:30 kick at Autzen, 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. Could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Coors Light presents Ducks Game Day. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Now going to go deep. Boys got him down there. Catch made. Keep your balance. Touchdown, Oregon.
It's time for the Ducks Game Day scoreboard with previews and scores from around the country on your home for Oregon Ducks football, the Odyssey app, and 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in live down at Autzen Stadium. As the gates are open, we're having a blast, man. It is cold down here. We're getting closer and closer to kickoff. People coming up, giving us hugs that we don't know. Yeah. So we're just, we're having a good time down here. We're just trying to make it out alive.
Got a hug from somebody.
Trying to make it out alive, man. That's all we're trying to do right
It
now.
escalated quickly.
We're having a great time down in Autzen. Let's take a look at some scores around the country from earlier today. The big shocker is obviously what happened in Columbus, Ohio. Michigan beat Ohio State 13-10.
That football?
And football, yeah. There was not a volleyball score. In football, they beat Ohio State 13-10. So if Penn State beats Maryland, which they now lead 17-7, they will be going to the Big Ten title game to take on Oregon. It will be Oregon versus Penn State next weekend in Indianapolis. So keep an eye on that one the rest of the way. We got Notre Dame and USC. They're all tied up at 7. So there are about 3 minutes to go in the first half of that game. Miami had a 21-0 lead on Syracuse, and since then they've given up a touchdown to Syracuse, and now Syracuse is driving, trying to make it a 21-14 game, still in the first half there at the Carrier Dome. So Syracuse sticking around. How about a round of applause quickly before we forget for not only a local product, who I know Anthony knows well, but the job the coach is doing. How about Kenny Dillingham and the job he's doing in Tempe, Arizona, where they come up with that huge win last week over BYU in one of the worst late-game clock management handlings I have ever seen. But they won, and they came into a rivalry game this weekend on the road. They got a 28-0 lead in the first half at Arizona.
Sam Levitt
is balling,
quarterback at Westland High School.
8 of 10, 162 yards and a tutty in the first half today.
He's a dude. I mean, and I coached his, I think it was older brother, Dallin Levitt, who played for the Raiders and the Packers 6 years in the NFL. That family's they're just outstanding football players. And Sam Levitt is something different. I mean, he went to Michigan State. Jonathan Smith told him, you're not going to play here, so okay, I'll go somewhere else.
I'll go win a Big 12 title. How's that?
now look at him like, oh wow, okay, Jonathan Smith, are you missing Sam Levitt?
I'd say so.
When you were at Central, I remember being on the sidelines for our 1080 The Fan Game of the Week for the Holy War. It was at Jesuit, Central Catholic Jesuit. And I remember looking over and seeing the BYU coaches, and I go, you guys lost?
Yeah.
It's the wrong team here.
Nope, they weren't. They wanted Dallin Levitt.
They wanted Dallin Levitt. Yeah, they wanted Dallin Levitt big time.
So shout out to Arizona State, 28-0. Cam Scatterby, 15 carries, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half. They are putting it on Arizona now. 28-0. A win for ASU locks their berth into the Big 12 title game next weekend against potentially Iowa State. If Iowa State loses, good luck figuring out that scenario. Alabama and Auburn in the Iron Bowl right now, 7-0. Auburn's got the ball. They trail 7-0, 9 minutes to go in the first half.
All right.
And SMU, just out of nowhere, man. SMU got out of the gate slow. They nearly lost to Nevada in week 1. They lost to BYU. They have done nothing but win. They're undefeated in ACC play. They're already guaranteed a spot in the ACC title game. They lead Cal 21-0 in the first half there down in Dallas. So look around the nation. And by the way, Penn State just scored again. So we are inching closer and closer to Oregon and Penn State. It is now 24-7 in the first half. Penn State over Maryland. Woo! Take a deep breath. I think that's it. Anything else you guys want to know about? Missouri and Arkansas? Nobody cares.
No.
Notre Dame SC tied at 7.
Tied at 7, yeah. South Carolina, by the way, kicked a game-winning field goal to beat Clemson earlier today. That was when I missed a final. So South Carolina finishes their year 9-3. And Clemson needs a loss from Miami in order to reach the ACC title game. So they're keeping a close look on what's going on with Mario Cristobal and the Hurricanes. There is your look around the world of college football.
Man, this just feels like after the week the SEC had last week, they called in some favors to the football gods, and they're getting them.
They're getting a few of them, man.
They are.
They're getting a few of them. So, wait till the candidacy of South Carolina starts now.
Yeah.
They're going to say, look at all our close losses, all of our quality wins, beats Clemson. That candidacy is going to take off this week.
Yeah, we need to do this with Illinois and be like 9-3.
Yes.
9-3 Illinois.
2 losses are to number 1 Oregon, number 4 Penn State.
Yes.
Then after the Oregon game, they had a tight loss against a Minnesota team that's been a bowl team for years now. They're really well coached. Went undefeated in non-conference play. Like it's the SEC playbook, and we all roll our eyes at it, but it works.
It works, man.
does.
That's why they do it.
Yep.
That's why politicking works. The
Yep.
SEC's better at it than anybody else. Paul Feinbaum. By the way, Syracuse did score, so they are now down 21-14 2 minutes to go in the first half there at the Carrier Dome. So they're trying to hang around. They were down 21-0. They've scored 14 unanswered against the Hurricanes. Let's reset things. We are live down in Autzen. It's chilly. It's cloudy. Beautiful football weather. Oregon, Washington getting closer and closer. We're back after this on 1080 The Fan.
Bellagio's Pizza, Northwest owned.
Town neighborhood down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river, then almost all the way from Salem through Albany. More slowing near exit 209 and starting to see a bit north of Coburg as well. Looks like we've got Smokies north of Brooks and again north of exit 216. 46 and fair in Portland, 39 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44. For the 4:30 kick at Autzen, 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. Could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
This holiday at T-Mobile, I'm joined by
Game Day. Mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Find out which game across the country our hosts are most interested in. Other than our game, of course.
Never a good look when your conference champion can't beat like an 8-4 team from the SEC.
This is the game to watch on your home for Ducks football. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in down to Autzen Stadium. You're going to hear from Joey Harrington in a bit. Mike Jorgensen's going to stop by. There's rumors swirling that maybe it's too cold for him. We'll wait and see if he makes an appearance down here. It's chilly down here at Autzen Stadium.
The man is from Eastern Oregon.
There's no such thing as too cold for that guy. Can't wait to see him in shorts in a bit. Let's get to the game to watch. And I think the one easy pick got to be Texas A&M, right?
Yes, easy.
Revisit of a rivalry game, and the winner goes to the SEC title to take on Georgia. A&M's never been to the SEC title game. Texas in year one could go to the SEC title game. That atmosphere is going to be on at the same time as Oregon Washington, so we'll miss it live. Can't wait to watch that one when we get home later.
Who you picking on that game?
I don't know. I honestly don't know where to go. A&M's a much better team at home. Marcel Reed's a great athlete running the ball, but he's similar to DeMond Williams. You're not going to get much in the passing game from him. But there's been something missing with Texas's offense for like a month now, man. They just have not clicked. There's a lot of Texas fans, including our boss. He wants Arch Manning to play. He wants Quinn Ewers out there. Give me Arch. He can run. So look, they're missing a beat. I don't blame them for being a little, frustrated. So it's one of those Texas going on the road into that environment. All the home mojo for A&M, but they're coming off a tough loss to Auburn. I'll lean Texas just because they're more experienced, but excited for that one tonight.
Yeah, I'm going with Texas. I think there's just too many dudes on Texas. And I love Texas A&M. I really do. But I think they're going to put it together this game. I really do. Yeah.
But Texas A&M wins those games that they have no business winning. It's like
they've done it multiple times.
Where did that come from? And you're right, Andy, about the offense just doesn't seem like it's clicking at Texas. And their receivers, how special that receiver room that they had last year. It was incredible. But like Bolden, the Oregon State transfer, that everybody, even through fall camp and like entering the first week, are like, hey, this guy is shining. We haven't seen him.
Yeah, where's he at?
Hadn't done much at all.
Disappeared.
At all.
No. Yeah.
And none of those guys are really taking that next step and making a big leap forward. But I want Texas to win just because I want all of the chaos with all the new schools coming in, planting their flag and saying,
It'd be great,
Oregon, Big Ten, SMU, ACC, Texas, SEC, and go, this was easy. Arizona State in the Big 12. What is this? What are we doing here?
Thought the Big Ten was hard. Thought the SEC was hard. You can't handle the SEC. And they got chances for new winners in every single conference out there as we get closer and closer to kickoff coming up. As Oregon and Washington coming up at 4:30 right here on The Fan. Joey Harrington, Oregon Duck legend, he joins Isaac and Suk every single week, and we'll find out what he had to say going into this matchup. Joey Harrington coming up next. Ducks pregame show on 1080 The Fan.
Motorsport Hillsboro is your side-by-side hook
Drive time right about 2.5 hours from here in the Portland City Center down to Autzen Stadium, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river, and then almost all the way from Salem through Albany. Some more slowing near exit 209 and starting to see some slowing north of Coburg as well. Smokies north of Brooks and again north of exit 216. 46 and sunny in Portland, 38 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44 here in Portland for that 4:30 kick at Autzen. 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. Could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
Your home for Oregon Ducks football is KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland. Go to the house! 1080 The Fan, an Odyssey sports station. Now let's preview the game with a Ducks legend.
That's very kind of you to say. I would call myself somebody who's been around for a long time and wants to tell some nice stories.
Here with Isaac and Souk on The Fan is Joey Harrington. Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
I just counted up. I was looking back at the Ducks schedule, Joey. This is the 7th game that feels, and you may disagree with this, but it feels like this is the 7th time this year where we are discussing a game that really has very little juice and the Ducks should win by double digits, and there really isn't a lot of doubt about that. Do you agree with that, or is this different because it's the rival?
Yes. I just have a hard time admitting that, I think, is the biggest thing. Especially after the last, I would say 3 years, but it's 3 games over the last 2 years. Like, there has been so much riding on this game over the last couple years. And Washington has been so significantly better than they were for the previous, 2 decades, that it's hard to just, flip a switch and be like, oh, well, the Huskies stink again, right? Like, man, I don't know. And our recent body of work, 16-13 against Maryland and a 20-17 or a squeaker against Wisconsin. It's not like we're blowing people out like we were weeks 5, 6, and 7.
Well, first of all,
should it be a 3-touchdown win? Yeah, it should.
Well, Maryland was 39-18.
Yeah.
And then the Wisconsin was 16-13. But
Wisconsin was 16-13.
Yeah.
I knew that. I was just making sure you guys knew that.
Yeah, you were testing us, and we were on it. We were on it. We're sharp.
Because you have those computers in front of you.
Well, that's true. But it's the right. I mean, I was talking to a big Duck fan who was like, "Man, this is such a huge game, and you got to beat Washington. Lanning cannot be 0-4 against Washington." And I get that sentiment, but at the same time, I'm like, well, one, Washington's way down, new coach, different team. 2, you guys are undefeated. It doesn't even matter if you lose, really. You go into the Big Ten title game, you can. Everything's right in front of you, and it's a bigger prize. So it kind of takes a little shine away from this matchup.
Yeah, I just don't want to admit to that.
Well, you don't have to.
You want to hold on to the Husky hate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just feels like it's been a rebuild, right? For, like I said, for the better part of 2 decades, the Huskies were just like, all right, it's fine. Ironically, during that stretch, the Beavers were probably more often a better game, and now it's built back into something that, God, they've got us the last 3 times, and now you just want to punch them in the face, and it's like, oh man, you're not even punching the same people in the face. Like, it's, Kalen DeBoer, you can't punch him in the face, and you can't punch Michael Penix or any of the 22 starters from last year. Like, it's just like, yeah. All right.
It's funny. Go ahead.
Have you seen? I was going to say, you said Husky hate. Have you? You know who has held on to Husky hate?
Yeah, Puddles.
No, it's not Puddles. It's the Duck.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, not
just the Duck.
I saw your tweet. I mean, I saw this.
Oh, it is seriously my favorite week in the entire year. Is the Duck on Twitter, and it is hilarious. absolutely hilarious. And by the end of the week, he's just going to start just like popping them out like every 5 minutes. It is comedy all week long, and I love it.
Have a great one. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
See you guys.
Joey Harrington. Joey's appearance is here on The Fan, brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
All right, folks, this is it. The weekend.
Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly.
Oh, what a throw. What a catch. What a catch. Terrence Ferguson.
Pacific Office Automation presents The Clear Advantage. A look at the players and units that match up well for the Ducks. Pacific Office Automation has your office game plan. Visit them today for a full technology assessment at pacificoffice.com.
All right, welcome back in. We got Mike Jorgensen waiting, and he's in shorts, so we got to go quick here because he's got to be cold. I know he's an Eastern Oregon guy. Clear advantage, there's one, and it's pretty easy to point out, and that is the home crowd here at Autzen Stadium today, as Washington has yet to win a game this season away from their home field. In Seattle, they play Washington State, where the Seahawks play. Lost that game. They lost at Rutgers. They lost at Iowa. They lost at Indiana. They lost at Penn State. No road wins yet for the Huskies on the season, and Oregon's going to look to take advantage of that today. That is their biggest advantage. It's the home crowd here at Autzen Stadium. Pacific Office Automation has your office game plan. Visit them today for a full technology assessment at pacificoffice.com. Pacific Office Automation, problem solved. Mike Jorgensen coming up next, color analyst of the Ducks. But now it's time for Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in-store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com. Here's Jeff Rust.
Drive time right around 2.5 hours from here in the Slabtown neighborhood down to Autzen, slowing from 12th and Sherwood Road through Wilsonville and over the river. A slow spot north of Kaiser as well, and then almost all the way from Salem through Albany. A little bit more slowing near exit 209. We've got Smokies north of Brooks and again north of exit 216. It's 46 and sunny here in Portland, 38 partly cloudy in the huge Ducks Game Day forecast. Calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, high of 44 for the 4:30 kick in Eugene. 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind. I'm Jeff Rust with Ducks Game Day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican food.
Don't let the game play you. Sports betting is popular among
Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill. Celebrate responsibly. Continues with Ask Jorgie, a preview of today's game with network color analyst and former Ducks quarterback Mike Jorgensen on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Well, you know it's cold when even Mike Jorgensen acknowledges that it's cold. But he's still got the shorts on. How are we feeling, Jorgie?
Just had to do it.
You just had to.
Had to do it. But it is.
Why?
I'm not. I know why. That's why. I'm starting to ask myself
about that too, Anthony. It's like, why did I do this?
What
I
in the
immediately
world?
regret this decision.
Yeah.
It is cold down here.
It is.
Feels good, man. Senior day is here. Huskies in town. A weird feeling where there's so much on the line you want to win. Not a lot of familiar faces, though, from Washington where you can't really beat up on the coach or the players that have beat you. You're beating the logo that is beating you, but a rivalry game nonetheless here today at Autzen.
A little different and late in the season, right?
Yes.
I mean, to be playing your normal Oregon State game at this particular time, all of a sudden it's become this, which I like it, frankly. I think it's neat to be able to end it that way. But, yeah, it is interesting. You go through and you try to pick out names of people that, Carson Bruner maybe you see, or Giles Jackson, or somebody like that you're able to kind of pick out, but there's no guys you're really familiar with, a coaching staff that's brand new that goes with it. And yet, I got to tell you, Washington has done better this year than I thought they would do. With all the guys that they lost, all the starters they lost, and everything else that went with it, they've actually done a nice job getting to the point where they are right now.
I mean, 6-5, you could look at 3 of their games that could have gone either way.
Right.
Rutgers game, Washington State games, a handful of those throughout the year that, man, a couple plays away, this could be an 8-4 team or 8-3 team coming to town. A little bit of a different feeling. And then you look at Oregon on the side where I wonder how much of a lesson that Michigan-Ohio State game will be for them of, hey, rivalry, I don't care how much you're favored by, I don't care how much you think you're going to win by. I hope they had that game on the team facility because it's about the same spread where Washington's got nothing to lose tonight.
Nothing at all. I mean, last night that was a semi
Georgia Tech game as well. Yeah.
But today, Ohio State Michigan was a perfect lesson if you're not ready to go and if you're not prepared against the Washington team. Again, frankly, like I said before, the way that they played. They're giving up, 20 points a game? They're giving up only a little over 300 yards of offense a game defensively. So they're a type of team that if they stick with you, and Oregon's struggles in the third quarter, where they've only scored, 35 points, 36 points all season long, which is just unbelievable to me with this offense being as good as it can be. You can't let this be a close game at halftime, or it could be a game all the way to the end.
So what does Oregon do today?
Got to run the dang ball.
There you go.
There it is.
Okay, we're done. Put the mic down. Let's walk
run
away.
Run the damn ball. That's what you got to do today.
Exactly.
You got to break their will right off the bat at the line of scrimmage, and I think they've got the ability to be able to do that. And then you got to stop the run, because if Washington can run the ball, all of a sudden, the quarterbacks become pretty good. You can rotate 2 guys in. The athlete and the thrower, and you can kind of rotate things around a little bit. But that's if you can run it.
Right.
And frankly, I think if Oregon can run it, Washington's in big time trouble.
Let's take a look a little bit, Jorgie, at the seniors, because it's kind of a weird senior day where you're in the Big Ten title game next week. If you lose that game, you're going to get another home game. So it might not be their last home game, but let's just play it out that it will be, and you win that game, which it looks like now will be against Penn State, because Oregon's already locked into that matchup. A lot of guys who are here for 1 year, handful of guys who have been here through coaching changes and kind of seen the program evolve, but that's got to be a point of pride, I imagine, for guys like Bossa, for Keon Ware-Hudson, Ferguson, guys who were brought in by a previous staff, but they're leaving the program in a really good place where maybe a couple years ago you weren't sure where it was going to go.
And guys that could have probably jumped last year.
Yep.
It might not have been first rounders or second rounders, but would have had an opportunity to be drafted, and yet they stuck it out, I think, because they saw what was happening and what the opportunity was in a new league. And so, it's funny you mentioned that, Andy. I sit here and I look at it, and I looked at it a couple of weeks ago. Look at all the seniors.
A lot of them, yeah.
There's a lot of really good players, but a lot of really good seniors, and yet Oregon's done such a great job of developing the depth that you have to have for a season like this. But it's kind of a special day for those guys today to get honored as the official senior day. I hope we don't have another home game.
Yeah, right.
That's what they're hoping too.
Make a plan to go down to L.A. for January 1st.
It's a little bit warmer, right?
Right.
So I think this team really has an opportunity today to again have your second undefeated regular season against a rival like Washington. These two teams don't like each other. I mean, there's Oregon State, there's Washington State. There's some other different rivalries out there, but this is just different. It's just different. These two teams don't like each other. The announcers don't like each other.
Are you going to get in a fight today?
No, but Cam Cleveland's been popping off all week long. What's he been doing?
I know.
I mean, from what I heard he yelled at he got ready to park their car today. Yeah. And parking attendants, I guess, said something he didn't like. He started yelling at him.
You're on edge,
people are fired up.
So it's senior day, okay? What did senior day mean for you? And this is a big day for the kids. You said there was a lot of seniors on here, okay, and it's a special day. You know, it's their last football game maybe ever, meaning at Autzen Stadium, okay? What did it mean for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, Anthony, it was one of those ones where it just all of a sudden, when you're a freshman, you never think it's going to get here, and all of a sudden you look backwards and you go, holy crap, where did that come from? All of a sudden you're in your last game, and, you know, my last game as a senior was at Oregon State, a victory, where Oregon really took care of Oregon State. And so that one meant a lot to me, too, because I knew it was the last time I was ever going to put on the helmet. Yeah. You knew you had football beyond Oregon football. I knew I had a job. An 8-to-5 job, as I say. And so I knew that's what it was going to be, and yet it just was one of those things where the opportunity that you've had to be able to do this, people don't get.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I remember thinking about it, is how lucky and how blessed I was to be able to play 4 years of football here at the University of Oregon, to be able to go and play against teams that I was able to be able to have the teammates and the coaches and the staff that really changes when you get, I'm sure, when you get to the NFL level. Not that you don't have relationships with, they change really quickly at that level. It's different.
Big
and
time.
so it's just, it's a big deal for these guys here today, whether you've been here 1 year or 4 years.
No, I love it. Well, we'll let you go get warm, Georgie. Put some pants on, would you?
I'm feeling pretty good down here right now.
I'm freezing. No, I'm shaking right now. My back hurts.
The wind stopped.
I know, that feels good.
The wind stopped.
Wind dies down. We're not doing bad. Mike Jorgensen, color analyst for the Ducks. Have a great call, buddy.
Okay.
Always
thanks.
appreciate it.
Right.
We'll wrap up. We only got 2 more segments to go, and then we're going to send it up to those guys in the booth here in about 10 minutes. Back after this, live at Autzen on 1080 The Fan.
If you're considering new construction and
Center here in Portland, slowing from Tualatin Sherwood Road through Wilsonville over the river, a slow spot north of Kaiser, and then almost all the way from Salem through Albany. More slowing near exit 209, and we've got Smokies, it looks like, north of Brooks, and again north of exit 216. It's 46 and sunny in Portland, 38 partly cloudy in Eugene. Ducks game day forecast calls for partly cloudy skies the rest of the day, a high of 44 for the 4:30 kick in Eugene. 40 degrees, mostly clear skies with very little wind, could be down in the low 30s by the final horn. I'm Jeff Russ with Ducks game day traffic and weather every 10 minutes, brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food. Order Victor Rico's for your game day celebration in store or online for pickup or delivery at victorricos.com.
It's time to sharpen the knives and make some picks.
How do you feel about this weekend?
Do you rent that yacht?
No, I own it.
That's how I feel about this weekend.
It's time for What's at Stake as the Ducks Game Day hosts look at the most impactful games in college football. Brought to you by Laurelhurst Market. More than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com.
Well, what's at stake? Pretty simple, boys, and that is the second undefeated regular season in the history of Oregon football. The only time they ever done it, 2010. And everybody, remember those 12-0 shirts that they made? Everybody had those 12-0 T-shirts walking around leading into the national championship game against Auburn. You got a chance to do that again. That's really special, and it's a chance to end what is a small drought, but a noteworthy drought nonetheless against Washington. One of the few things that Lanning hasn't accomplished as a head coach is a win over this team we're playing today. Be nice to put that to bed here tonight.
You know, it's funny. He's going to talk to the press and say, I'm not thinking about that. I'm not worried about that. He is.
I know. He absolutely is.
Behind closed doors,
absolutely.
He's telling his guys, let's be, but he's thinking about it. I mean, it's Washington. And they're going to be good. That's Washington. They're going to recruit. They're going to get football players. But when they're down, that's when you jump on them.
Take advantage of them.
Take advantage
Just
of
like
it.
they came in and pointed at you and put 70 on you at Autzen a couple years, about a decade ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you were dressed as Cal.
Yeah. Wasn't us. That was Cal. Cal did that.
But it is, and think about where Dan Lanning is in his coaching career. He has been a head coach. This is his third year as being a head coach. There are only 2 teams he has never beat. Georgia, which he's only played one time, and this Washington team. Every other team that he has played, he has beat in his coaching career.
Yeah.
Think about that. And he's joined a new conference somewhere in the middle.
Yes. That's a remarkable stat. It really is. Don't forget tonight to listen to the Pacific Office Automation postgame scoreboard show. Your chance to hear the secret score to win a $100 Laurelhurst Market gift card as the Huskies are honking their buses driving in. Everybody give them the two-finger salute as they arrive at Autzen Stadium. If you listen, you hear the secret score, and then listen to Sprague and I Monday morning, you got a chance to win that $100 Laurelhurst Market gift card with the secret score. Laurelhurst Market, more than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com. We'll wrap it up with the line to watch. Our final thoughts on the game next on 1080 The Fan.
Coors Light presents To Chill.
On the Fan.
Screen pass coming left. Herbert's got it. He's got blockers. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Ducks!
It's time for the Line to Watch, where our Ducks Game Day hosts responsibly look at the number on select college matchups and predict the score of today's Ducks game. Don't worry, we'll check their work after the game on the post-game scoreboard show. The Line to Watch is brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling prevention and treatment resources, visit opgr.org.
All right, our final thoughts down here at Autzen, and then we get a chance to go warm up, maybe take some laps around the field or something, go find a heater somewhere. It is chilly. It feels like November football. We're down at Autzen, Oregon, and Washington coming up just in about 2 hours. We're going to send you up to the booth here in a moment. Before we give our thoughts and score predictions, I did want to give you a quick look at the scoreboards around the country. Penn State has a 31-7 lead over Maryland. Wow. So unless there is an epic collapse there, next weekend in Indianapolis, it will be Oregon versus Penn State.
There we go. Good
for
matchup.
The Big Ten title, man.
Good matchup.
Oregon's got a chance to beat Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State in their first year in the Big Ten.
That's crazy.
The three brands of that conference. 31-7 your score there. Notre Dame USC tied at 14 at the half. Miami's got a 21-14 lead over Syracuse. They need a win to get into the ACC title game. Alabama probably still alive in the playoff. I don't know why, but they're up 14-3 in the first half against Auburn. And then Arizona State with a 35-0 lead on Arizona on the road at halftime. Sam Leavitt, 242 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. Arizona State is 2 quarters away from clinching a berth into the Big 12 title game. Final thoughts for you, man. Senior day, emotions, everything going on, and a big rival in town.
It's a great day, but Oregon wins by 17.
Okay, we'll go 17?
Yeah, they're going to win up front, in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, control the clock, control the score, win the football game.
I love it, man. I'll go 42-17.
Okay.
42-17. Big lead at halftime. Make sure everybody's healthy for next week.
Thank you.
Keep the bigger picture in play here.
Stay healthy.
Keep the bigger picture in play.
Yes.
Lots still to accomplish. Go get that win over the Puppies, though, tonight. Line to Watch brought to you by Multnomah County Behavioral Health Division. Don't let the game play you. For more information on problem gambling, prevention, and treatment resources, visit opgr.org. That will do it for us live down in Autzen. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Kickoff coming up a little over from 2 hours from now. Watch it on NBC. We'll send you into the booth. Coming up next on 1080 The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football on 1080 The Fan is brought to you by Coors Light, Pacific Office